Good morning, everybody. Carter Wilkins here, and this is Coffee with the Cowbell. Oops. All right, I had a little glitch there. I think I'm good. Hope you got your coffee. I'm Carter Wilkins, Teams Geek. Wake up in the morning, I get my coffee, and I talk about teams. I am going to, there's always something I gotta fix here. So I'm gonna do a quick little thing here. Get something working correctly. Do that. Do that. Right. I think I'm good there. Bring that over there. And bring that right there. All right. I think we're good. So, and audio's working, it would seem. If it wasn't working, I'm sure you would tell me. So, good morning, everybody. And this is Coffee with the Cowbell. We're going to talk about Microsoft Teams. I just like to geek out on all the cool features. Cool stuff's coming all the time. Case in point, shared channels I just saw is in preview, public preview. If you are using public preview features on your teams, you can start to experience this, but expect a future video from or live stream from me on that. Shared channels is very cool for collaboration. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you'll know soon as it kind of gets out in the wild, but it's still a little early for that. But good stuff there. So listen, what I had in mind today was to talk about lists with teams, because last week we talked about Excel versus lists, and I thought it was pretty cool. I'm a big SharePoint fan. Before there was Teamwork Cowbell, there was and is SharePoint Cowbell. So www.sharepointcowbell.com. That's where the Teamwork Cowbell came from. So way before Teams, I was a SharePoint fanatic. Still am. And so because of that, I have always been a fan of lists. And I thought they were cool when in SharePoint before Teams was around. I still think they're cool now that Teams is around and they can be incorporated. And that's what I thought we would show and talk about today. So that being said, let me switch over. Hopefully you like my little Black History Month background there. But let's go ahead and switch over to this guy. And we'll show and talk about team lists. Okay. So we did a little bit last week, but I want to keep this real, everyday kind of usage, right? I mean, my intent is not to just be super technical here. Lists are very practical because in our everyday work, we tend to need lists, and we tend to solve our need for lists with Excel. We have done so for many decades, really. People run their businesses off of Excel, which is cool. But what they're really running their business off in many cases is tables and lists. And I need to store data in a tabular way, get back to it, edit it, maybe pivot off of it, get insights from the data. So that is cool, and that is what we're doing in Excel. And I call lists, SharePoint lists, it's kind of like Excel on steroids. If you're an Excel master, you would strongly disagree with that probably, because you know all of the magic of Excel. But even with some of the magic of Excel, I would argue there's several things you get to do in SharePoint lists that you don't get to do in Excel, no matter how good you are with Excel. It's probably a big statement for those of you out there who are Excel lovers. But anyway, so let's break this down a little bit and start in SharePoint. Just kind of put us on the same footing, okay? I'm going to quickly get to SharePoint just by going to the files area. So for all of you Teams users, again, this is a quick way to get to the SharePoint site of the team you're in. And so I am hitting the three dots, open in SharePoint. I could have gotten to SharePoint plenty of other ways, like going to the main office.com portal and finding SharePoint there, right? I could find it there, gives me all my different SharePoint sites, and I could have navigated to it. So, but this one takes me right to that one pretty quickly. So let's make this bigger. All right. So we're good there. Let's go to the home page of this site. Old school, or your typical way of making a SharePoint list outside of Teams, is the new button, and you can see lists. Now these days, that is a, like newly branded Microsoft lists. So this look and feel, these templates, these are all the new lists. So, if your old school SharePoint list, don't be worried about this. You're still getting all the goodness of a typical SharePoint list, but you're getting some newness too. So, let's say I want a place to store a list of things that I or me and my team want to, manage, keep track of, whatever it may be. Blank list, our stuff, create it. And in seconds, I've got this place where I can start to make columns, or it would be columns in Excel too, right? Except in Excel, you don't have to create new ones. They're there. Maybe you're labeling them. But I got title out off the bat. Let's say I want to store prices, which are currency. I'm storing some things, in this case, some things that have prices, and maybe things that have a status, let's say. Let's call that a drop down. Let's see. Where is it? Choice. Maybe it's we'll make status, and we'll say it's like in stock or back order. Stuff like that. Maybe we'll get rid of that one. What's cool is, you get fancy colors of your old school SharePoint lists. We didn't have this back in the day, where right off the bat, we got colors that we could choose from, all that good stuff. We had to do that ourselves with JavaScript. It was crazy. It's crazy time. But we get nice colors, make this very easy to create, right? So I hit save. I've got 3 columns now, and then I can start to add data. We kind of went through this last week. If I love grids like Excel, I could do it like Excel, right? So, I don't know, it's a car, $15, and it's, I would hit the drop down in stock, right? And, TV, $20, and it's, click that, and it's on back order, right? Exit the grid view. Got that. If I like having a form instead, hit new. I get a form for what I want to add. Computer, $5 in stock. And you see some other things attaching that, adding attachments and whatnot. Hit save. There's my list, right? I can give somebody this URL either by clicking up at the top, or make this a little bigger here, or by going here and, or actually here with share. I can give them the link in all kinds of ways, right? Get that link to them, and they will go right to this page. Even better, the person that is interested in this list is really only interested in computers, I click that, I can give them a link just to the computer row. Copy that, such that when they open it, new tab, I'm gonna paste that. They get just the computer stuff. And as this updates, they would see it there. This doesn't look fancy. I mean, I did this in 2 minutes, so it's not nothing fancy here. But again, a unique URL. You see ID3 there for computer stuff. That is one of the things you're not going to get it with Excel. You don't get a unique identifier, a unique link to a row of your Excel table. If you want to share something about row 45 in your spreadsheet with someone, you got to give them the whole spreadsheet and tell them to look at row 45 or sheet number, whatever, where your pivot table is or something like that. But you got to give them all the data instead of one link to one piece of the data. That's one of the biggest advantages, I think. Okay, so we've got the spreadsheet. I've convinced you, we've got this list. I've convinced you how useful this is, right? And so now you say, well, what about teams? Well, we can add that list to teams. So this is let's say this is the team, the Mark 8 project team that cares about that list of stuff. I would go in here, and in this case, as it thinks about it, I would use list as an easy way to make a tab to that. Okay. Existing list. And there's our stuff right there. In a second. So now right there in the team is our ability to see and manage that data. It's hard to describe some of the scenarios where this becomes even more useful, but for instance, and maybe I'll do this in a future video, but this could be so Power Automate is another one of my fun little features there, right? Workflow. I could have a form out there where people are submitting this maybe on a public web page, and then Power Automate says for every time someone submits it from the form, send that data to a SharePoint list. And if I'm doing that, then that means here in Teams, if I'm looking at this list, I am going to see a real time, this thing's going to update as people are adding stuff from this public public form, right? I could probably put that together in 8 minutes, So without me leaving Teams where I've got all my meetings and my chat and everything else, I now have access to what could be a real-time list of things. For any given thing, I could click on it, see more details, edit it. Everybody is, real-time, access to this thing. So that's the goodness of the list, right? And then what Microsoft Lists, the new brand or concept, has added to it is things like incorporating comments and conversation about it. So again, comments are kind of tied directly to the data, but conversation about this particular row of this list is here. So you see, I'm talking about the computer row. How many left in stock? It's the question. Okay. The conversation is going to get started. By the way, you see we just launched the 3D emojis there. Make that a little bigger so you can see that maybe. 3D emojis there. Kind of cool. All right. But I can ask this question about it. Where is this conversation occurring? Out in the out here. So even if I'm on the team and I'm in the channel chat, I may not even know that tab to the list is there, but I can see this conversation. I can talk about it. In fact, let me bring up another user here. Teams. This is the admin for this area. And I think he's got access to this. Yep. Go ahead and log yourself in. Boom. So I'll turn those on. He's seeing, yep. He's seeing Ricardo talk about that. He's not, he might not even be aware of the list. Now, I got a nice little thumbnail there for taking me right to that item and that tab, which is cool, I think. It'll come up in a second. I'll come back to that. It's thinking about it too long. But what I wanted to, is just reply to that conversation. Plenty in stock, right? Come back over here. Yep, we're getting all our notifications. So see, we're having a conversation about it. And again, if I go back to that item, that conversation is happening there. We could talk all day about this, and it'll always be tied to that item when I'm looking at it in Teams. And we know that by the existence of this guy, which actually, let me reload the tab here. Okay. Oh. Boom, we see that. Oh, actually, I'm sorry, that's the comments. Go back here. The conversation button. This might be due to my zooming. Yeah, conversation button right there. Okay. So again, that's one of my main areas of value, is talking about a specific item. And again, this doesn't look quite as interesting because I've only got 3 fields there. I didn't put too many visuals to it. But if this had way more fields, way more data, it would make more sense why I'd want to see this particular item, all by itself. Okay, so you kind of got to use your imagination, since I created this in like 2 minutes. Okay, so that's that list there in SharePoint. All right, now the other piece to this is, if I go back to the SharePoint list, I'm not sure if I showed this before, but if you still love Excel, you can export it to Excel. Let's take a look at what that looks like. All right, we get that list info plus some extra stuff coming from that list. What you lose, though, this is just a snapshot in time. If I start editing stuff in here, I'm not editing the back end list in this particular case. Okay, but it does let you export, do what you want to do. Maybe you want to export as a backup method. Okay, so we do get that. You probably noticed as I was making the list, there is also an option for creating a list from an Excel spreadsheet. And again, if you are really comfortable with Excel, that might be the way to get started with lists. Let me show that. I'll make a new list here, new spreadsheet. I keep mixing up the two. Let's do name, address, and zip. And, put some data in there. I always make my data into tables. I don't know why you wouldn't, but I do. Table with headers. And if for nothing else, it makes it easier for this whole export piece. I've got my table here. Of course, I could continue to add stuff here. When I'm all done, click inside the table, go to, which one is it? I always forget. It is, the table design. And hopefully you're seeing this okay. Export table to SharePoint lists. And I got to tell it where to put that. So I'll go back to, this is my site. So I really just want to grab the site URL, pop that in there. I'll name it, test one. And I could really hit finish here. There's some other things here that kind of helps me validate that my columns and everything are cool. I can just hit finish though. And that's done. The table was successfully published and may be viewed at this link that I click on. And so without knowing anything about SharePoint, I've made a list, filled it with the data from that spreadsheet. It starts in grid view, but I could exit that. And now I've got good old fashioned SharePoint lists with things like clicking the one item, seeing it on its own with its own URL, all that good stuff. And then from here, I could continue to add more. Now from here, I have broken my connection with that original spreadsheet. So now I'm adding, new data here to this list. It is not getting added back here, right? I've done an export. But this is an easy way, especially if you are comfortable with Excel. This is an easy way to start up a SharePoint list without all the add column stuff and without knowing anything about SharePoint. If this data is a little fancy though, then that's where it could get interesting. That's what, if you have different types here, like maybe there was currency or something like that, they may not come over right. That's what that next button was that I ignored here. So simple data like what I did comes over just fine. I'll get out of this. And get out of this. Okay, comes over just fine. And then as you would imagine, this list is able to be added as a tab back in the Teams area as well. Now the other thing that is cool about lists, in my last few minutes here, are views. Do I have views in Excel? Essentially, pivot tables are kind of like different ways to view the data, my different sheets. You can create views. And so you have views here as well. The thing being, for instance, let's go back to the other one. So let's put a little more data in here. So let's say I had more computers here that were different prices. And let's say I had another one. I'm doing this for a reason. Exit the grid view. So in this list, I'm only interested in computers and will always only be interested in computers. Give me a view that filters out the rest, right? So I can come in here at any time and filter it out myself, right? I click here, filter by, only show me computers. You could do that in Excel, right? Filtering. So that's cool. But now save this view as computers. Okay. So now anybody can come in here and quickly switch between seeing everything and seeing just the computers. Okay. And the computers view has its own URL. If I copy that, send this to somebody, hey, check out the computers in our stuff list. They use that URL and go right to that view computers. So another cool thing. So whatever kind of what an Excel person would call a pivot table, whatever pivot table you would create on your data can now have its own view that people can use. And then you can have a list of pivot tables or a list of views here. What is cool though is, okay, the team likes seeing all the stuff. The team likes seeing computers. I like seeing computers that are under $7. So I can create a new view, but I will uncheck this public view. That means only I can see it. I can make as many views as I want that are just for me. These are views that I might think the team is not interested in seeing this view, and I don't have to worry about filling their page with a bunch of different views that they're not interested in, I'll make my own private view. Ricardo's computers. And in Ricardo's computers, I want to filter on computers and also filter, let's see, maybe I'm only interested in the $7 computers. And there's Ricardo's computers. And I'll save it. So now there's 3 different views. Let me just prove it. All items computers, Ricardo's computer. If I go over to the admin, because I know you guys don't believe me. All items computers, there's no Ricardo's computer view. Okay, so the admin sees those public ones, but I see these. Okay, so that to me is pretty cool. Again, you got to use your imagination. I only got a few items. Seems like, why would I make a whole view for that? I could have just easily have done my filtering. But if I had 10 more columns and a bunch more data, I would not want to filter off 5 things every single time I come in here. I would want to view. And then, of course, that was a very simple one, but I could go in here to old school view management and do a bunch of stuff like, how do I want to sort it? What do I want to filter on? Including things like if we had a column here about, who's assigned to computers, and maybe it's Tim and Lisa and Ricardo, right? Sometimes I'm assigned to something. I can actually say, show me, everything where assigned is equal to brackets me. And then that would, SharePoint knows who I am. It would be able to find those items that are just me. Being able to group by a particular column. You could do some totals, a bunch of styling, all that good stuff. So that is good stuff there related to views. And of course, those views, well, maybe not of course, but if I come back here to our stuff in Teams, those views are available there as well after I refresh probably. So you see my data's there and my views are there. So, once this list gets all laid out, people don't even have to go over to Teams anymore for basic viewing and editing. They can come in here and they can, make their edits in here too. Maybe this is supposed to be $9. Boom, right? So the views are there, all that good stuff. And the last thing I wanted to show was something that I feel like people, have missed for a long time about SharePoint. Let's go to Home. Let's go and let's make a new page in SharePoint. You should explore SharePoint pages and their value if you haven't already. Let's just keep going. Blank page, nothing too fancy. Pages have the ability to have web parts added to them, little boxes, little windows of data. And in this case, as you might guess, I want to add, I don't want a new section per se. I want to add a SharePoint list web part. There's our stuff. And in fact, let's go computers and let's publish. Oops, name cannot be blank. List. Yep. Just leave that there. There's this nice integrated SharePoint list. Still functional, right? But right there within the page. Now, what's the big deal? Well, the big deal comes when that is incorporated with other things. Like, maybe ahead of that, I wanted, I don't know, some YouTube page about lists, right? I don't have a link handy. Let me see. Maybe, can I do that? Will it let me? I don't have any content ready, but let me see. Let me add something here. Something that shows up. Maybe even some text, right? Some where's my text? Yeah. Maybe this is the text that describes the list. Let's publish that. So this could be some text ahead of the list, pictures, images, all that stuff you kind of saw me quickly scroll through. And then this could be a page of multiple lists. So maybe I got that one there. And then maybe I've got another list. Maybe like that other test one that we did. Republish that. Use your imagination to see how this could be useful, right? I could have this data and stuff up here, then a list there, then a separate list. So I'm pointing at two lists just by going to one page. And then take all of that over to Teams, where we can use a tab. Sharepoint is here. Sharepoint pages, the list, save. So now right embedded in my team is this useful page, when you use your imagination, of all this data and stuff in one shot. So kind of see the difference here, right? I did have an R stuff tab dedicated to the list, but now I've got a page with that list and another list in it. So it thinks about it. And a place to converse about that page. Okay. Still can edit it, still can do stuff in it. That's what makes them more than just little static pieces. They're web parts. They are able to be, worked on within the page. Exit grid view there. So use your imagination, and that can get a little more interesting. And again, here's the conversation about that list. All right. So that's really just scratching the surface. But to me, those are some of the big advantages to the list. The, unique row IDs, the ability to embed them in pages, and the fact that they are able to be used all over the place. I mean, I'm showing Teams and SharePoint. We didn't go into mobile and all the other places that they could be used as well. So I hope that was useful. That was a little bit about SharePoint lists. You also got to see the brand new 3D emojis. Let me pull up the whole list there. So again, if you hadn't heard that announcement about the 3D emojis, you saw it first here, right? Cute little 3D emojis are now in Teams. You saw it here first. Tell your friends. They missed seeing the emojis because they missed the Coffee with the Cowbell episode. So good stuff. I could probably do a whole episode on the value of emojis too. They're not just for fun. They have a very practical use. You have to catch me on the next Coffee with the Cowbell. So enjoy, everybody. Hope you had a good time. I did. See you next time.